Up next, I Am Remarkable. Stephanie is a social worker and the CEO of Douglas Community Services in Hannibal, Missouri. She is a member of the statewide Independent Living Council and an adjunct instructor for John Wood Community College. Stephanie has worked in the disabilities field for 25 years and is a parent of a child with disabilities. Stephanie's presentation, I Am Remarkable, will increase your understanding of underrepresented groups and diversity and teach you how those issues impact persons with disabilities. She'll talk about self-promotion, motivation, and open communication for persons with disabilities. Please join me in welcoming Stephanie to Real Voices, Real Choices.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me during this session. This is my very first Real Choices, Real Voices session that I have actually presented. In the past, I have been able to attend from an employment perspective, and I was taking staff with me. So when the opportunity came along for me to host this session, I thought that this might be a really good way to introduce the I Am Remarkable movement to you, and just to get a little bit of information into your hands about what self-promotion can do for you. So I do want to let you know that this training typically takes about an hour and a half. And obviously I don't have that kind of time. And it looks by me watching all of your responses that, we're getting pretty close to dinner. And I'm sure that as it gets closer to time, people are going to want to know if they're won the grand prize, and B, what they are going to have for dinner. And I will tell you that I saw the answer that said pizza all day, every day. And I have to say, I too am pizza all day, every day. So the guys in the back, Dak, I think, has helped me and told me that I needed to share my screen. So I'm going to do that. We're going to go through this at a pretty quick pace. But I think I'll be able to see if you have questions. And if you are brave enough to share, I may be calling on you sometime a little bit later in this meeting, but there is a handout, and it says it's just a lined piece of paper that if you have a printer close to you, you can certainly go to that handout and you can print it out, and it just says I Am Remarkable. So if you do have access to a printer and you do want to print that off, we're going to be using that piece of paper. Otherwise, you can use a piece of scratch paper if you have one where you're viewing right now, but just make sure that you have some way to jot down a note, because you may feel like it's important and you want people to know about you and what makes you remarkable. So I'm going to share my screen so we can get to the slides. And I am hopeful that you all can see this PowerPoint. So and I think you probably see me off to the side, but I only can see the PowerPoint. So welcome to I Am Remarkable. And you may ask, what is I Am Remarkable? And I Am Remarkable is a Google initiative. So yes, you are sitting through a Google program this afternoon. Google has some really cool things to say to people that are identified in the workplace and in the community as having some struggles and needing some self-advocacy. So it is my place today to come to you and provide you some information that Google has found very intriguing. And they want to make sure that people have access to information. And so that's why I'm here today to kind of share with you the I Am Remarkable story. So we're just going to go through a few things. Number one, just an introduction to what I Am Remarkable is. Two, a little bit of the research so you can understand why it's important to self-advocate and why it's important to talk about self-promotion and to talk about the great things that you do and you contribute to your community and possibly your employer on a daily basis. And then we're going to do a very quick exercise. Usually that takes a whole lot of time, and we don't have that today. And then just a couple of quick follow-ups at the end. So if you will bear with me, we will get through this as quickly as possible so we can get on to the prize drawings at the end. But again, thank you so much for allowing me to kind of talk to you about the I Am Remarkable movement. So Whoops. Okay. So what is I Am Remarkable? And you may be wondering, why is she talking to us about I Am Remarkable? And so I will tell you my own personal little story about I Am Remarkable. I have been in the disability field for a very long time. Initially, I came into the disability field because I had an interest in working with persons with disabilities. It was something that I had done in college, and I really enjoyed it. And it just seemed like that was what my career goals were as I got older. And then I began to have children, and my second child, I found out that he had significant disabilities when he was born. And so I began to watch him as he grew up, know that he had great things to offer to his school, to community members in the community that we were living in. But I also began to see how he was treated as a person with disabilities, as I had seen a lot of other people. And so when I began to kind of research self-advocacy and wanted to research making sure that people got acknowledgement and got praise for the things that they were doing, is when I came across the I Am Remarkable program. And so that's just a little bit about why I got involved with I Am Remarkable. But I Am Remarkable started in 2015, and initially it was just an internal program within Google. And there were two women named Anna, both of them Anna, yes, indeed. And so they began to see that women in the workplace were not promoting themselves. They were not talking about the great things that they did on a daily basis at work and at Google. And they saw that other people were getting recognition and getting, the promotions and the raises and the acknowledgement. And then they began to see that that wasn't just at Google. As they started pushing this program out, they began to see that it was many groups of people that were not getting acknowledgement. So it could have been based on race, gender, ethnicity, ability, and so on. And so they decided to take this I Am Remarkable movement out to really the world, because we provide I Am Remarkable worldwide now. But it was a way to teach the importance of self-promotion and for you to feel comfortable promoting the things that you do. And you'll see in a little bit later why it may be a little bit more difficult than you think to self-promote. So again, this initiative is to encourage people to develop the confidence and the competence to engage in self-promotion and to challenge the perceptions around self-promotion. When we often find that when people begin to talk about themselves, they feel a certain way about that. They may feel very embarrassed. They may feel like the things that they do are not important enough, or they may just feel like from a cultural perspective, they were not raised to talk about themselves. It was okay to, praise others for things that they did, but not themselves. So the I Am Remarkable movement kind of teaches us that self-promotion is really not bragging if it's based on fact. And so that was one of the things that it really was important for me to teach people, that you may do something that's super fantastic. You may do something that you want everybody to know about, and it's something you've done. Well, if it's something you've done, that's a fact. And so you're not bragging when it is something that you have done and that you want others to know about, because if you do it and you can talk about it, you may help somebody else to do self-promotion, to talk about the things they have done too. So what happens if you keep it to yourself? Well, nobody knows. Nobody knows of the great things that you've done. And it's important because you may want to do something in your community, or you may want to do something in employment. You may want a raise. You may want a promotion. You may want to say, I can do just as good as that person is that has the job right now. And I know it. But if you're not talking about the things that you accomplish or that you have done, Nobody is going to know, and nobody's going to say it for you. So this is a key concept for people to begin to think about, talking about their accomplishments and speaking up for themselves. So self-promotion, it matters. Self-advocacy, it matters. Self-promotion matters because we're able to show and to speak about our value. If we don't talk about our own value and the things that we can do, and the things that we can give back, we risk people moving ahead of us. We risk, as a disability community, people not knowing the great things that we do, and people not knowing that we have things to give and we have things to say. And, you need to really pay attention to us. But some of that responsibility lies on ourselves to say, we know that we are important, and here's why. From a cultural perspective, women and men don't like women who promote themselves. So let's think about that. When you hear a woman talking about the things that they do, how do you feel about it? Do you say to yourself, good for her, you go girl? Or do you say, oh, she really shouldn't be talking like that. People are going to think she's bragging, and we really don't want to kind of hear that. So you really have to stop and think about people that promote themselves. This is just an example of women who promote themselves, but put in there a person with a disability. Put in there somebody that has a different ethnic background than you do. And it's not going to look much different. It is going to be the same. There are people that are going to frown on others that speak up about themselves. And so as we're kind of talking about bias, and we're talking about bragging, and we're talking about the things that we think that people are thinking in their head when they hear maybe you talking about things that you've done, race, gender, age, other types of stereotypes impact our perception about a person's competence and ability. And we have a really good example here of one way that people question competence. And so I will say, and there is a slide coming up, but I have worked with a number, probably thousands of people in the disability community now after 25 years. But I have oftentimes seen individuals that have speech delays, especially in the workplace or in community settings, where if they have a struggle with language, that people automatically begin to think that this person doesn't have value, that this person can't communicate. So therefore, we really don't need to spend a lot of time understanding what they're trying to say and understanding what they're trying to get out. And that's simply not true. But that is a stereotype that oftentimes we see with persons that have speech delays. And depending on what area you're coming from, and in this instance, I am speaking to you within the disability field, every underrepresented community has a different experience with self-advocacy. I will tell you that I have been an advocate and a self-advocate for my son for many, many years, and for the consumers that I have worked with over the years. Our experience in the disability community is much different because we play a huge part in promoting self-advocacy and in spending time teaching about self-advocacy. But not every underrepresented group has the same experience. So we may see someone that is from a different country have a very different experience in being in being judged because it's something that we don't understand, or they haven't been given the proper tools, or don't know how to access the proper tools to self-advocate. So self-advocacy is a very important part of the the self-promotion and the acceptance within the community. So, and as I've said, language oftentimes is a barrier, especially in the workplace, especially in the community. If you have someone that, number one, has a speech delay, number two, has an accent, number three, is not using English as their primary language, they are often subject to discrimination, ridicule, and harassment. And unfortunately, these things still happen. So, one of the things that I challenge any participant in an I Am Remarkable session is, if you know of someone that may have language as a barrier, think about your perception of that person. Think about, are you giving them the opportunity to speak freely and to listen to what they say, because the listening is the most important piece. Diversity, and that's what we're kind of talking about with I Am Remarkable. Diversity also has a business impact. And as a business leader, I will tell you that if I don't embrace diversity and I don't employ persons with disabilities or other persons that are coming into our organization that may be of a different race or ethnic background, it hurts my business. So I can see how much of a benefit it is in business, but sometimes people don't. So I will tell you that if you have diversity in business, and this is just from a business perspective, 53% have better performance if they have women board of directors than if they don't, and if it's all male. When I first started at my organization, I will say that I was very blessed to have a number of persons with disabilities on my board of directors, but I have also sat on boards that have been primarily men. Not to say that's a bad thing, but I can say that things looked much different when it became a board that had more women board of directors, and we began to see more inclusion of different groups. There's also some financial return to making sure that persons with disabilities, persons with different ethnic backgrounds, racial backgrounds, are employed. Businesses that do make sure that there is inclusion happening often have 35% greater financial return because of that. So those are some of the great things. But what are some of the things that happen when you don't have diversity and you don't have inclusion? Well, it has real consequences. And you see here, 47% of the LGBTQIA plus, and forgive me, I'm a social worker by trade, and I forget some of those initials too. They experience discrimination at work. And I will tell you that discrimination and people leaving because of it cost companies on average $64 billion a year. It is difficult to replace employees. It's even more so when they leave because of discrimination, because that is something very difficult to work your way out of. People will talk about that. They'll talk about the company, and oftentimes it will create some stressors for the company to find people that want to come work there. So I will tell you that this next piece is the one part of the program that makes it a little more difficult. We've talked about what I Am Remarkable is, and we've talked about talking about yourself, right? Promoting. We talked about self-promoting. We've talked about making sure that your voice is heard, because if your voice isn't heard, then who's going to tell people how great you are and the things that you're doing? So I'm going to stop sharing so I can kind of see the screen as answers are coming up. So what I would like for you to do, and if you have that piece of paper, grab that piece of paper now. And this is going to be a little bit of a challenge, but I encourage you to kind of hang in there with this. Part of the I Am Remarkable is just getting comfortable with talking about yourself. So I would love for you to write down one thing about yourself that makes you remarkable. It doesn't have to be a whole lengthy essay. I'm not asking for you to do that. I'm just asking for you to think about one thing that makes you remarkable. And try not to answer with, I have great hair today. I don't. It's been raining here and my hair is all frizzy. And so I wouldn't want to put that. But I want you to think about something you have done that makes you remarkable. And I want you to start your sentence out, I am remarkable because. And I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to do that. And then if somebody feels comfortable enough, I want you to share what that is. And I'm starting to see some answers come in. So I just want to give you just about another minute to write down one thing that makes you remarkable. All right. I am beginning to see answers come in. So Carol, she says she is remarkable because of her transparency. Carolyn is saying, I am remarkable because I love people. I see I am remarkable because I'm trustworthy. I see I am remarkable because I love to help others. I am remarkable because I can program in COBOL computer language, which fantastic, because I'm pretty sure I don't even know what that means. I am remarkable because I am helpful and kind. I am remarkable because I have a mental health ministry on Facebook. That is fantastic. I am remarkable because I help people. Okay. Yes, Carol, I am in total agreement. These are great answers. So here's my next question to you. Was it hard? Yes or no? Was it hard to think about what makes you remarkable? I'm still seeing some answers coming in about I found a way out of active addiction. I have empathy for people. I've received 100 messages today with stream chat. Excellent. I'm sure you have. Okay. Okay. So I'm seeing some people saying no. Just one thing was hard, not hard. Yes. And that really, that is not hard to think about, but how to put into words. Absolutely. So this is one of the things that the I Am Remarkable program does. It just introduces you to the concept of talking about yourself. And for many people, that is difficult. If you have the ability to talk about yourself, you have the ability to raise up others and to help them talk about themselves as well. For some, it's not. For some people, it's a very easy concept to talk about what they have done and what they, have accomplished. But for others, it isn't. And so we just want to introduce people to the idea of I am remarkable and talking about yourself and just putting yourself out there, because sometimes when you put yourself out there, it makes you feel very vulnerable. And people get uncomfortable. It gets a little awkward about it. So one of the other things that I want you to do, I want you to think about either for those of you that are employed. Yes, Judy, absolutely. If you don't promote yourself, who will? And that's really the backstory to the I Am Remarkable movement. So I want you to think about if you are employed, If you volunteer in the community, if you are engaged with an organization, a not-for-profit, and oftentimes I see individuals that they may volunteer and they spend a lot of time with this particular organization. And I'm sure that for those of you that are on this conference today, you probably all are engaged working with some organization that's important to you. So I want you to think about, if you are doing that type of work, think about what makes you responsible as a worker. Not responsible, remarkable. I mean, we all want to be responsible too, but what makes you remarkable as an employee, as a worker, as a board member, a committee member? There's lots of people in here that have sat in on the committee, just this planning committee alone, and that makes them remarkable. So think about what makes you remarkable as an employee or a volunteer. Just one thing. And if you want to put it, if you feel comfortable putting it in the chat, feel free to do so. And I'll just kind of call out the answers as I see them. Great answers. Integrity. I'm remarkable because my ability to connect with all types of people. I'm able to connect with coworkers and clients. I work hard, can be part of the planning and success of a business. I am remarkable because I pay attention to details. Willing to step up and help, or work for others if needed. I like that one. I am remarkable because I can laugh at myself. And that's a great thing, because we don't want to take each other too seriously. And I'll just give it another minute or so. I always give 110%. Excellent. All right, the answers are slowing down some, so I'm going to go back and share my screen so we can continue on with this PowerPoint. We've done the group we did the individual exercise and the group exercise. So how did it feel to write it? You know, for some of you, you all said that it was easy. For some, you said it made you think a little bit. But one of the bigger questions here is, and I now can't see you, so you can certainly put your answers in the chat, and I will catch up with them on when we finish up with this. But I do want you to think about, have you supported others who promote themselves? And not just in the workplace, but do you have a tendency to support others who promote themselves in the community, or in a situation where they need to be heard because they have done great things, or they have been able to accomplish great things, and they're not speaking up for themselves? Do you have the ability to say, you really need to speak up and you really need to talk about it because people need to know the great things that you're doing? And in the past, have you felt comfortable sharing your achievements in the workplace? And for those of you that are employment, I will tell you that I have done this session for a number of employers. And oftentimes I hear employees saying, I do not feel comfortable talking about my achievements because it just sounds like I'm just talking about myself and bragging, and people don't want to hear that. But I will tell you that as an employer, and a person that is in a position to be able to promote people, The people that most likely will get promoted within my company are people that talk to me about what they have done for the company, what they have done for their community, what they may have done for their church, what they may have done for their school, their university, maybe their kids' school. They will have a tendency to be looked at a little bit harder than people that aren't talking about their achievements, because I know that they're doing great things in the community. And right now I employ 200 people, and I see a lot of them. But I can tell you that the ones that want to go after promotions feel the most comfortable being able to share their achievements in the workplace. And oftentimes they're the ones that will get promoted before someone else that may be just as good, but we would have no idea because they don't ever share anything about what they're doing. So if you find out that, and if you were one of the individuals that in that chat, you said, no, this wasn't hard for me at all. How can you help others? How can you help others to learn this exact same lesson that we're talking about today? How can you teach them that advocacy matters? Well, there's a few ways that you can help people. Sometimes, we all have known that one person that is super quiet, that has a tendency to kind of sit off to themselves or sit in the back where attention isn't drawn to them. Maybe they're ones that are always listening and nodding, but they never say anything. How can you get that person engaged? So here's a few ways to do that. Number one, you can attribute ideas correctly. So if somebody says something and it's a really good idea, even if it's not, make sure that you can say something like, look, Carol had this really great idea. She's done this, or she has this advice to give. That helps lift someone else up that may need that extra boost. For those of you that said it was a little hard to think about myself and the things that make me remarkable, but you were willing to try. You were very brave here today, putting something in a chat to a complete stranger that you don't know. But you all are in far different situations than I am. Our lives look much different every day. So you are coming into contact with people I will never come into contact with. But helping them by lifting them up, by identifying that their voice matters, by having them share something. And if they can't, you can, you help them share, or you share for them. Acknowledge their accomplishments. If somebody says something and says, I did this, or I got this award, are you the person that sits back and just says, well, that's really nice? Or are you the person that says, hey, Mike, that was excellent. I can't believe that happened. That is fantastic. So excited for you. So proud of you. And for those individuals that may struggle at talking about why they're remarkable, why they have made great contributions, ask questions. That's also a very easy way to get somebody engaged to talking about the things that they have done. Just ask a simple question. It doesn't have to be something that is super hard, but it is just that beginning piece of engaging with somebody. So I will tell you that we're almost to the very end of this presentation, and I'm sorry that I had to go so quickly. But I will tell you that there are a few different ways that you can continue to build upon this idea of being remarkable. There are certain things that we as facilitators say you can do. One of the ways that you can talk about it, if you're working or volunteering, grab a group of friends and say, hey, let's talk about all the great things that we have done. Oftentimes we're busy talking about, what job needs to happen, what project needs to be done. But sometimes just grab some friends or colleagues that you work with or volunteer with and say, let's talk about something that we each accomplished this week. That's a great way to start out talking and recognizing people for the remarkable things that they do. if this was something that was difficult for you, continue to practice this. Practice it with somebody that you trust. Practice it with a partner, a spouse, a sister, a brother, a colleague, someone that you feel comfortable with. Practice phrasing it. Practice expressing a few professional things that you do, some things that make you remarkable. For some of us, like me, I oftentimes will forget things. And so sometimes I have to write down what I've done. I had to write down when I wanted to join Real Choices, Real Voices Planning Committee. I had to write down some achievements that I had done in order to get the application back to Christina. And so I had to write things down. But I was able and I was ready to do that. And when I submitted my application, I was able to pull that information and say, look, I think I belong on the committee because I have this to give. Make sure that you share and you act and review the things that you're doing, especially if you are in an employment setting and you are wanting to go after that next promotion or that next opening where you go, it may not be a promotion, but it may give me a little more experience. And also use your self-promotion skills to achieve a goal that you set for yourself. The second handout that is attached to this is a survey. And so part of me doing the I Am Remarkable is that Google wants to know that I've actually shared some information with you. So if you can open up that, you don't have to do it right now, but if you can open up that form and you'll see it, it's got a QR code on it. It's got my name and it's got my number in it, my facilitator number. Click that QR code with your phone and fill out the survey for me if you don't mind. It'll ask for the facilitator ID. And so it's listed on that slide. And Google would be very appreciative of you saying, yes, indeed, we have now been talked to and trained in I Am Remarkable and how we can help others to be remarkable as well. So that second handout that was attached is the survey handout. And so it will have all the information for you and where to go to fill out the survey. So I'm going to play this video for you all because we are getting ready to wrap up. This is just a couple of minutes, but this also shares with you what it's like for other people to experience the I Am Remarkable movement and the I Am Remarkable training. So I encourage you, and hopefully, Dak, you all can hear this on your end, but I'm pretty sure you would be able to. Oops.
Please write down your answer to So I'm remarkable because. It's really hard. Okay, I'm done. How did it feel to write it? Weird. Hard. Would you mind reading it out loud? Oh my god. I'm remarkable. I'm remarkable because all the kids that I have taught actually love me and they still remember me till this day. After I turned 40, for the first time in my life, I also tried things that I'm not very good at. I can rhyme really well, but don't ask me to right now. I'm funny. I think I am. I follow my dreams once I figure them out.
I am remarkable because I challenge myself every day, even if these are small challenges.
Because I want my life to have meaning. I'm remarkable because I survived cancer when I was 17. Because I'm optimistic.
When I'm in tough situations, I stop and I smile. I'm a pretty good mom. I think I'm really doing a good job. That's it.
So how did it feel to say it out loud? It felt kind of nice to say it out loud. Pretty good. I think it's easier to say why we're not doing that well, to criticize ourselves.
You feel like you may have only one or two things to say. And then you realize that you have more and you have more.
There's so many great things going on that when I forget it, all I have to do is think about these things. And then it's like a chiropractic adjustment in my mood. It's like,
makes you think like, what else can I do?
So you have just had just a very brief lesson in I Am Remarkable. And so you may want to know, is there an impact? How many people have been through this training? What happens? And so I will tell you that we have provided, Google and I Am Remarkable have provided over 230,000 workshop participants. We've provided this training to. There are 8,000 facilitators around the world in 150 countries. And when we revisit individuals that have taken the training, 49% said that they have experienced job or career growth. 82% said that they feel more confident, and 89% are self-promoting more often. So what I will tell you is that if you enjoyed this, please share this information with others. I am very happy to do this. And if you know of a situation, an organization that you think this would be a really good training, I think you have my contact information. You can certainly reach out to me. This is a free workshop for anyone that is wanting to participate. But I would also say that with the groups that you are engaged with and invested with, share what you have learned and talk about the things that make you special. Talk about things that make other people special that may just not be able to use their voice to say so. And if you're on LinkedIn and you're on Facebook, there is an I Am Remarkable in social media, and you can look that up. And you can join those groups, and you will hear all kinds of stories throughout the I Am Remarkable movement. So that is the end of my session with you all today. Thank you so much for participating and putting yourself out there to answer some of the questions that I have had and to share some things. I believe that if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. I would be glad to answer them for you. And if not, I want you all to continue to be remarkable in your own ways and share what you have learned with others today. Somebody may need to hear it more so than you did today. So I will wait, I think.
Have a question for our presenter? Submit questions in our video chat and the presenter will address as many as possible.
Unless there is something here, I see KK Modify. I would love for you to do a workshop, please. I would be glad to do that. I would love to do that. And I'm not sure, maybe there's somebody in the back that has my email information, but I will share it with you so you can reach out to me via email. I will give you my Gmail because I can set these up and do them virtually, literally anywhere. And I have done them out of state as well in a virtual capacity like this one. So my email, for those of you that would like it and want to connect, is Coop Girl. So it is, let me see if I can put it in chat. I have had you all do it. So let's see if I can. Oh, okay. I think one of the guys in the back is putting it, he's telling me to put it here. Okay. So there is my email. I think Dak may be putting it up. But again, thank you so much for coming in and dropping in with me and learning a little bit about the I Am Remarkable movement. Who knew we were going to Google together today? But we did. And so if you don't have any other questions, they're going to put my email. There it is right there. I see it on the screen. feel free to reach out to me. I'd be glad to talk about the I Am Remarkable movement and the training. Where is all this info at? Well, you would have to reach out to me so I can share some additional information. Obviously, we have lots and lots of information surrounding I Am Remarkable, but if you want to just reach out to me by email, I will be glad to give you that information and see if we can connect. So thank you all so much for the kind words. I appreciate it. I think we're probably going to wait for Christina to maybe come on the line because I think they have the big prizes. And so, or at least some prizes. So thank you all again so much. I appreciate it. I want you all to have the rest of a good conference, even though we're coming down to the end. And thank you so much for allowing me to come in this afternoon and talk to you about being remarkable.
Thank you so much, Stephanie, for being here with us today. I know everyone enjoyed your presentation and there was some really great information. It looks like you've got another question there from Judy. Is there an age limit?
So we typically do the I Am Remarkable movement for people that are 16 and older. Google is trying to create an I Am Remarkable for younger children, but it has not been released yet. So right now we believe that the topic is something that 16 and older can do. I can modify it a little bit. So if you have some questions about that, I certainly can help kind of navigate, especially if you're looking at kind of a youth training, then we can also make that happen too.
Perfect.
Oh, thanks. That was the best. Aw, thank you. I just saw this pop up.
Everybody, yeah, the attendee, I'm telling you, everyone today and yesterday, it's just the encouragement of each other has been great, and encouraging our speakers. I mean, wow, they're very good at that.
Well, that made my day. So
well, good. So, does anybody have any more questions for Stephanie? She's still here for a few minutes, folks. So did you, maybe, I don't know if you said this or not, but how long have you been doing the I Am Remarkable? You may have said that in your talk. And
I am going on 2 years of doing I Am Remarkable.
Okay.
So I actually did the training, the facilitator training. The facilitator lives in England. And so I had to jump on pretty late at night and do a few hours of training with her. Just because of the time zone change. And I didn't know that when I got into it. But I met a passionate group of people that really wanted to talk about making sure that people that were underrepresented had access to this information. And so that is something that really intrigued me. And being a part of the disability community all these years, I knew that this was something that would also benefit the families of the people that I was serving. So that's kind of my story. So I'm going on year 2, started, at the early part of the pandemic. And now here we are rolling into the next year of the pandemic.
Wow.
So
that's incredible. Oh, got another question there from Dwayne. Okay. How do you deal with superiors and peers who take your self-promotion as bragging?
So a lot of times Dwayne, it kind of stems from the environment, because it may be an environment where that type of behavior, like that type of self-promotion really it's not the norm. And so, when people come to me and say, how do you deal with people that think you're just bragging? I kind of use that line that we learned in I Am Remarkable to say, it's fact. And I find it, and I find sometimes for me, I find humor is something that will allow people to be a little more open. So I may very well just say it that way. I may just say, it's a fact. Don't tell anybody. And so then I kind of go on to say, it may seem like bragging, but I spent a lot of time learning about this, or I've spent a lot of years doing that. I think as they begin to hear the backstory of what you're doing, they begin to see a different part of you. That just hearing, look, I'm remarkable because of this, That's one thing, but it's another when they begin to hear your story. And oftentimes people need to hear that extra detail to feel comfortable. And it may very well be something that they're not comfortable with themselves. So that's how they, kind of address it. They go, well, I would never say anything like that. And that's true. They may not, but that may also have you encourage a conversation with them to say, I felt like it was too. And I went through this training and so, I encourage you to do the same thing. And sometimes just encouraging people is just the thing that they need for them to look at it in a different way.
That's a great answer. The one thing that struck me when you played the YouTube video earlier, all of those wonderful women, they were writing down things that were remarkable about themselves. And, they might have had a hard time writing it, but then whenever they had to read it out loud, many of them were apprehensive and they're like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that. But then they did, and the emotion that they felt, some of them couldn't even say it because they were so emotional, because they're looking at this fact, like you said, about themselves and going, wow, I really am remarkable. I mean, that's probably the thought that's going through their head.
Mm-hmm.
Do you often, when you have these trainings, do you encounter that kind of response whenever someone reads that about themselves?
I do. I think the first time that I did that was I wound up in a room full of employees and a domestic violence shelter. And they were all crying around the table, right? And they all said, this is the hardest thing we've ever had to do. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, you work in a domestic violence shelter. You see some of the worst things that are happening to women and children. But yet me telling you to write down one thing that's awesome about yourself is the hardest thing that you're having to do. Yes. And then, and then I have to deal with, I just made a whole bunch of ladies cry in this session. And that was not at all what I wanted to accomplish. But it is for them, because sometimes this is the only platform that they've ever been able to say to someone, this is what makes me special. This is what makes me who I am. So for some of you, I'm so glad to hear that for some of you, it is very comfortable for you to do that. And we encourage you, especially when that's happening, to help others do the same. But there are some that said, yes, this was hard. And those are often the responses that I get when I do this. And it's for me, I was in person at the domestic violence shelter, but online it's a little bit different because I'm not there to give a side hug. I'm not there to, kind of walk with them through that journey. So, okay. I see some questions coming in, Christina, that I think they were needing my email. I don't know if they can throw my email up one more time.
I'm sure the guys can do that.
Thank
there they
you.
go. They are
All
on
right.
top of it. And
Yes.
the handouts, Dak, can you pop up that link to where the handouts are available too? We'll get that on the screen. I see it in the background. There it is. Yeah, so KK Modify, that's on the screen now. That's where you can go to grab the handouts that Stephanie was using.
Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, Google doesn't let us share the PowerPoint stack, right? That is owned by Google. So they do allow for the facilitators to use it. But even then we can't print it off. So I can't share those slides, but I can share the I Am Remarkable survey, as well as the I Am Remarkable paper. And I will tell you, I would just use that paper to send a note to somebody.
There you
It can't
go.
hurt.
That's right. All right. Does anyone else have any last minute questions for Stephanie before we let her hop off of here?
Well, Christina, thank you so much. And it has been a pleasure being on the committee with you as well. But I love this, and hopefully I will get to see so many of you. Hopefully we'll cross our fingers for next year. I am a huge karaoke fan. I will never sing, but I hear that that's one of the hottest spots to be.
It is definitely one of the favorites for the attendees for sure. So yeah, it's a big event down there.